Welcome to episode 7 of the Hustle and Harmony podcast. You're here with Emily
and Julia Cole, and we are so excited to talk about some of the biggest moments that have happened in our life and some of the hardest. But today's episode will be about pivotal moments in our life and career. And I think we both know most of each other's pivotal moments, but I don't think we've ever actually had this conversation in depth, talking about how we got through it and what it changed in our life.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited to
I am too.
Dive into this. And I'll start asking you because I know that there are different seasons. You can have multiple, but what was like the first big life-changing pivotal moment that you had?
Wow, really getting to the kicker here.
I know. We're just diving right in today.
Well, I'll preface it by saying I remember telling you several times over, I don't know, probably when I was like first starting college, that how I realized that a lot of my childhood, I kind of just breezed through and didn't have to go through the whole figuring out who you are thing because I had you and Kristen, and I literally just did everything that y'all did growing up. And the first time that I ever did something that was new and on my own wasn't even really cross country, because you did cross country for a little bit, but just more so taking running super seriously and doing running year round. And I
quitting the other sports.
Yeah, quitting
was
the other
huge.
sports.
That was like you being serious about one.
Yeah, and it was literally just my junior year, because I did volleyball and basketball and track and cross country in high school, so that was a lot, especially being at a big 6A Texas high school. I definitely had a lot of conflict between my coaches too, specifically with cross country and volleyball being in the exact same season.
And I will also say she was in all AP classes, so like school load was not light. It was also a ton of schoolwork at the same time.
It is crazy looking back at that period. I'm like, I do not know how I got through it.
I worked harder in high school than any other time in my life.
I feel like we will always stand by that.
Forever.
Yeah.
I will never beat my high school self.
It's like we think back, like we were literally just doing class from 8 a.m. to whatever.
7. School started at 7.
It was like 7 to 2:30 every day, practice before and after. Crazy. But yeah, so I did cross country and volleyball my freshman year because I was kind of able to work it out. But then my sophomore year, I actually quit cross country, which is kind of crazy considering that's what I ended up doing in college. But I hated it. I was like, I'm sorry, Coach McGuire, but I love volleyball. Volleyball was definitely the coolest sport to do at our high school. So I loved being on the volleyball team. Yeah. I was like, I just want to be Julia when I grow up. I just wanted to be outside hitter like you. And I was never quite as good, but I did do a little bit more back row on varsity, I feel like. If I had specified in being a DS earlier on, I feel like that would have helped me out because I'm not quite as tall as you need to be for volleyball.
It's just more fun to hit.
Yeah.
Like, let's so just call it like it is. It's so fun.
I literally just remember watching
That's what a spike is. For those of y'all who don't know, the bump set spike, we call it a hit. It's a hit.
I just remember watching you playing varsity, and I'm like holding my little sign up in the stands and being like, she's the coolest person I've ever seen in my entire life. I want to be able to do that. So
she did not think that then. This is like, you
saying
this now.
Your little jump serve, not little, badass jump serve. Anyways, I digress. My point is, I did other sports and I did not like running at all. And the only reason I focused on running my senior year was actually because my junior year, my coach was like, I think you can break 5 minutes in the mile. And I was like, yeah. And then at regionals.
Dang, what a conversation.
It was really inspirational.
Yeah.
And then at regionals, I ran 3 laps on 5-minute pace and then just bombed the last lap. Like I was on 5-minute pace and then I finished with a 5:17. So my last lap, I ran like 17 seconds extra. And that just lit a fire underneath me because I was like, my coach said I can run in sub 5. I think I can run in sub 5. And I'm not going to go play college volleyball or basketball. So I'm just going to focus on running this summer. My high school coach was also amazing for cross country, Coach McGuire. He's 100% the reason why I love running and why it's become such a big piece of my life today. But yeah, so I that summer grinded literally just because I wanted to break 5 minutes in the mile and ended up running fast enough to be able to run in college. But it was actually a lot more rocky path than like people would imagine, because obviously I was very late to the recruiting game, having not started focusing on running until my senior year. And then I qualified for state for the first time. I was never even close to qualifying for state before that. And I actually started feeling super sick leading up into that state meet. And it wasn't sickness in a way that I had ever experienced before. It was definitely more on like the mental health side, which I feel like people are a lot more aware of now. But I was just having a really hard time focusing in conversations.
Anyone who knew you was like, what is going on with Emily?
Yeah.
Because you just were not, your personality was gone.
I didn't have any incentive to like listen to music in the car. All I could think about was just like getting my meal in, getting my run in, and going to sleep.
You wanted to be alone all the time too.
Yeah.
I remember that being a big drastic change, and you just like would go be by yourself in your room, or like anywhere you could be alone. You just like didn't hang out with us anymore, and we were all like, why does she hate us now?
Did I do something? It's you. You're the problem.
It's fine. I've realized that by now. I'm definitely the problem.
But yeah, so basically I mean, even in class too, like I couldn't focus in class, and then I would eat a meal and I'd be like, wow, my brain just came back. Mm-hmm. And I was definitely becoming like more controlling with my food, but I had learned about nutrition for the first time, and I was not getting nearly enough sodium in my food. I've shared about this on my socials before, about how that's kind of the main thing that inspired me to become so passionate about health, because whenever I got to the weekend where I had this state meet, that weekend I started feeling really sick beforehand, and everyone thought that it was just something that I had eaten. We had stopped at this cute little Mexican hole-in-the-wall shop on the way there. We thought maybe I had something that had upset my stomach. And I remember Mom and Dad like helping me, you know, as much as they possibly could, just being the absolute best. And I actually think we were FaceTiming you whenever I was in the bathroom, and we were just like, you know, Mom was just FaceTiming you. We were just like hanging out, but it was obviously not ideal because it was the night before the meet the next morning, and I had been throwing up all day and just felt pretty bad. But we are a very optimistic family. Like, we will be like, we can do this, and always figure it out.
We've played many sporting events very sick.
Yeah. And so we, for, you know, obvious reasons, just thought that it was another normal sickness. And we're like, okay, in the morning it'll be okay and she'll get through it. And
food poisoning especially, you're like, oh, whatever, 24-hour sickness, like I'll be okay. Exactly. I can do this.
And like you got it out of your system, you're going to start feeling better now.
Right.
So they'd had plans to go meet some friends for dinner, and they were like, okay, is it all right? We're going to go meet our friends for dinner. You can go to bed. I was going to bed very early at this time anyways, so it was like around 8 p.m. I was like, absolutely, go enjoy your night. And they'd asked my coach to come in about an hour later and check in on me with my roommate. So I remember laying down, taking like a final little sip of ginger ale, and then I don't really remember anything else after that, but I know that my coach came in with my roommate, and he thought about just letting me sleep because I looked like I was sleeping, but he was like, I'm gonna wake her up and check in on her. And he shook my shoulder, and it looked like I had a seizure. My body convulsed, and it was obviously very scary for both him and my roommate. So he got them to leave, called my parents, called our parents, called the ambulance. And I actually do remember hearing the paramedic's voice, which has really been weird for me to try and understand and process afterwards. But I remember hearing him being like, hey, Emily, can you swing your legs off the side of the bed for me? What are your sisters' names? What year is it? And I obviously didn't respond to any of them. And it was just all black. Ugh. But the ambulance took me to the hospital, and it was literally just hyponatremia and being too low in sodium, a condition that I had never heard of before. It's more common. Yeah. It's very common in extreme endurance athletes. So if you're running a marathon or something like that, it's much more easy to get so depleted in sodium. because sodium is what you replenish in a lot of electrolyte drinks, like in your water.
How much were you running at this point? Like, I know you were running 60 miles a week roughly in college. Was it less than that in high school?
Oh yeah, it was like 35 to 40. But
so it was the diet.
And it was the diet combined with, I'm a very salty sweater, so I'm more prone to it. And we were in Houston, Texas, so it was very, very hot.
So hot.
And I didn't know what electrolytes were. So it wasn't even like I was getting an electrolyte drink that didn't have a lot of sodium. Right. I was just drinking water.
Right.
There was no electrolyte replenishing happening.
I actually remember vividly, you would like, I mean, I kind of do this, so
chug water.
Don't yell at me. But like, I remember we would go have sleepovers in the guest room, and you would, before we went to sleep, just chug an entire liter of water, basically.
I remember that too, yeah.
And I remember one time, I went to sleep earlier than you or something, and I remember just listening to you chug, and I was like,
so mad at me.
Emily, shut up. You're the loudest water chugger.
So well. The next morning, you're like, I was trying to sleep, and then all of a sudden, I just hear you chug.
Go. And it lasted like 5 minutes because you're just downing a liter of water.
Oh, how the tables have turned. Except now it's your electrolyte chocolate water.
Yeah, you've approved the water.
I have approved it.
But it's cool that like I'm going to tell everyone to go listen to the audiobook that I've most recently heard from you, but obviously to go read the book first that you put out, and I'll let you explain everything about that. But the reason why I think it's so impactful, at least for our family, like listening to it, hearing your voice tell the story that you just told, but not in a conversational podcast way. You're telling it from like a first person perspective going through that moment. It is heartbreaking and like terrifying to listen to. Obviously, Kristen, Mom, and I have been like in our group text being like, is anyone else able to get through this without crying? Because no. But when you hear it from your perspective in a really well thought out, well written way, because that's what you spent. I mean, you spent 2 years on this book. Yeah. It's just unbelievable the obvious life change that you had from what seems like a one day, I guess 3 days in the hospital event, but it was this 6-month period of change really that came down to this pivotal moment of a state cross country meet. Yeah. Where everything just blew up. Yeah. And I flew there from Nashville to the hospital. Kristen flew there from London to the hospital. Mom and Dad had stayed up all night for 2 days in a row. And it was just the most terrifying. It was probably a pivotal moment for everybody in the family, because it was a reminder of, in a second, everything can change. Life is short. Life is precious. Health is fleeting. Like, family's everything. And I don't know if any of us had that. 2018 was a year. Yeah. Because I'll never forget that it was the end of 2018, because everything for me, all that stuff happened 2018. But that was the scariest one of everything that happened.
Yeah, so basically what Julia's talking about is I ended up going into a 2-day coma from hyponatremia and being too low in sodium. And I slept through the state cross-country meet, and I woke up, and both of my sisters were in the room, and you live in Nashville, Kristen lived in London at the time. So I was like, what the heck is happening? Why are they here right now? And obviously I could see I was in a hospital gown and everything, but none of us had ever had any major health conditions happen up until that point. So it was something we weren't really familiar with too. Very blessed to not have had to have experience with that up until that point. Yeah. And generally have had pretty healthy family members too. We had all 4 of our grandparents still at that time. So it was definitely a pivotal moment for all of us. And basically I woke up from that, and I still wasn't myself for a while afterwards, because they can't raise your blood sodium levels too quickly, because it makes your whole body swell. It makes your brain swell. And if your brain swells too much, that can be really dangerous as well. So that's why it took me so long to wake up, was because they raised them very slowly over the 2 days. But still, my brain swole a little bit, and I don't know this as much, but Julia knows, for like the whole next week at least, I was definitely not myself. Just very
She was falling
slow.
asleep in random places. Like, I remember you would walk somewhere and we'd be like, where did Emily go? And we would just find you asleep somewhere. And I'm like, middle of the day, right after you had slept for a full night, you know, like it was bizarre.
Yeah.
The places we would find you just like checked out.
Yeah, I remember you walking with me to all my classes too. And I couldn't really remember like where my classes were or which ones to go to, but you helped me through it. And it was very weird going back to school because I had, missed so much, and seeing my professors and like trying to explain it when I still didn't really understand it. But yeah, I was really grateful to have you with me doing that.
That was so scary.
Because you stayed and helped me out for a while. But I obviously knew there were some big things that were wrong and missing, and woke up from that just being like, what the heck just happened? And also, I thought that I was doing everything perfectly to be the healthiest, fastest version of myself beforehand. And this really scary event happened.
Yeah.
What went wrong? And it was also the opposite of what society tells you is healthy, because it was too much water and too little salt. And everyone's always like, drink more water, and people eat too much sodium.
Salt is bad. America, everything has too much salt.
So I woke up, and that's really what inspired me to write my book, The Player's Plate, because I was like, we have got to redefine healthy and redefine health and have people more educated on the holistic picture that their bodies need and the importance of fueling with whole foods, but also the importance of getting food if you don't have something that's like a great option at that moment. Like sometimes you just need fuel. And electrolytes, obviously. Getting electrolytes in your water, whether you're an extreme athlete or you're, a badass mom, you're going to need electrolytes to fuel yourself through your day. And
it also makes water so much easier to drink.
Yeah.
Like it makes it easy to be overly, I'm so hydrated, and it is not a pain because I genuinely love the taste of it. It's like delicious. Dad
actually tried some of the Element electrolytes the other week whenever I was home. He went golfing in Houston at like 1 p.m.
It's so hot.
It was definitely 105 degrees outside. And as he was walking out the door, I handed him a couple packs of Element for him and Mr. Kim. And he was like, oh, thanks, I definitely use these. And he came back and he was like, that thing saved my life. I was like, yep, I'm sure it did.
I remember him talking about that day golfing too. Just
it was
like
really hot.
Houston heat is next level.
Joke. Yeah. But yeah, so I guess to explain what the Player's Plate is, I wanted to create a guide to sports nutrition that I wish I had in high school when I was trying to learn about sports nutrition and nutrition in general, because I had no knowledge whatsoever, just the basics. And I knew that I wasn't credentialed in it. So I went out and interviewed a bunch of registered dietitians and elite athletes. I explained in chapter 1 what a registered dietitian is and why their title is different than nutritionist, and why you should definitely look for that label because they have the amount of school that it requires and the amount of knowledge and expertise that they have to have in order to be able to get that title, and make it very clear that I'm kind of consolidating all of this amazing information out there rather than being the one that created it myself. And then I interviewed a bunch of different elite athletes too, and taught the sports nutrition concepts through their stories. Mm-hmm. So I gave each athlete one chapter, tell their story, have one core sports nutrition concept come from their story, and then a recipe at the end of each chapter to teach you how to put into practice what you just learned. So I'm very proud of it. It's my baby, and it took me 2 years to write. And it actually published on the 4-year anniversary of me going into my coma. And Julia earlier mentioned my audiobook, which is not out yet. I haven't announced the date, but I guess I'll announce it here. It's going to be on the 2-year anniversary of my book publishing date, So the 6-year anniversary of my incident, and that is November 2nd.
Your pivotal moment. The 6-year anniversary of your
6-year
pivotal
anniversary.
moment.
Exactly. But yeah, November 2nd, 2024 is when the audiobook of The Player's Plate will come out. Woo! And I'm very excited to share it with you all. Julia's obviously listened to it already, and she's given it her stamp of approval. So I'm really excited. But.
So if you had to give me like the 30-second synopsis of your pivotal moment, what it was and what it changed for you, what would that be?
I mean,
because there was so much packed into that.
Yeah.
It's like
consolidating
what's the moment?
That's a good question.
Was it before? Was it after? Was it years later thinking back on? Like, what was the thing that you're like, this is why I am who I am now?
I think my pivotal moment was probably when the book published, because I had used the book almost as sort of a way to process too what happened.
Wow.
And I got to talk to y'all a lot about, because I don't obviously remember anything from those 2 days. So I actually remember several times telling y'all I love speaking about it because it helped me understand better what happened. Mm-hmm. And I think whenever the book came out, it was just proof to myself that you can do hard things and you can turn your pain into purpose and be able to help people through the hard things that you've experienced. And I literally remember telling y'all at one point, I looked back and I kind of realized, I feel like if I died tomorrow, I've contributed to this earth by having
created
this
a
book.
Piece of art that is helping people.
And it will outlive me, which is really cool to think about.
Yeah, that's beautiful. What a good pivotal moment also. Because I was thinking, obviously we were talking about this episode beforehand, I was definitely thinking the coma, that has to be what changed everything. And I think to an extent it started it, and it did, but I love that the real pivotal moment was overcoming that massive struggle, battle, and a lot of it was mental after the fact, because you had to get back into running. Like, none of us knew if you were ever going to run again. Yeah. Because this was a state cross country meet that we didn't know if like running in and of itself was the problem or what, but you went back. So the other kicker is that weekend that I went into my coma, I was supposed to visit Duke on my official visit. No way. I slept, like I missed my official visit. And Dad had to call Coach Riley and sort of explain what happened without super scaring her. And Coach Riley and Coach Dan invited me back on another official visit like a couple weeks later. Wow. They could have been like, hope you feel better. You missed Sorry. It. Bye. Also, are we just going to leave out the fact that you came back and then like crush it at state next year? In track season. In track. Yeah. Well, technical next year. Because it was that's true. It's true. It was the technical next year, same school year, but track season. I broke 5. I ran 450. Just like absolute crushed. What were all of your places again? I got 3rd in the 3,200, which is basically the 2-mile. In Texas 6A track. I don't think you'll understand. It's the fastest state in the country. Like, if you look at like the rankings of fastest people in America, the only states you see listed basically are like Texas, California, Florida. And there's like occasionally an outlier somewhere thrown in there, but like to be the 3rd fastest in Texas, it's insane. Thanks. I love you. I got 4th in the mile, so I was a 3rd and 4th. Yeah. It's crazy. I remember taking our pictures at the top of the stadium. So UT Austin, I got to run nationals there in college too, which was a cool full circle moment. But I remember taking those pictures with Granny and Granddad and our cousins too. Yeah, everybody. So I remember like the whole family was there. Everyone was there. It was a really cool moment. Oh, that's so cool. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, it's a crazy year. So I know you mentioned earlier about how that year you had a lot of things happen. Yeah. So can you explain that to us and kind of walk us through what those events were? I will. And that year you're talking about is 2018. And I have so many things that happened in that pocket that were pivotal, but you actually just reminded me of probably my OG pivotal moment.
Okay.
Which was, and the whole family being at your event is what made me think of it.
Oh, yeah.
My first performance really was singing the national anthem for the Houston Texans. I won a singing contest in high school, and it was a fan voted singing contest. So like first you had to send a video in, the Texans picked their top 10 videos, and then they had you come into the stadium and sing a national anthem, and they recorded it and they put it on their website. And then they let the one who got the most votes come sing the season closer sold out Texans Jaguars game.
Literally so sick.
Literally in high school. Like, this is the craziest thing ever.
Can you explain why you applied?
Yeah,
Had you ever sang a national anthem before?
So, yes. I sang the national anthem for my own volleyball and basketball games in high school. And this was just because my teammates and coaches heard us singing in the locker room or on the bus. It was just like a kind of a funny thing. Like, I only did choir 1 year in high school. Like, I wasn't the singer girl or anything like that.
But her national anthems were incredible.
It's really funny that you think that, because I've been going through all these home videos and I've listened back to some of them. They were like not good. But anyway.
Have to pull them out of the vault.
Yeah, no, I don't know that I'm going to post those. I might have to though, because they're kind of funny. They're not bad, but I'm going so fast. I'm like, it's like the fastest national anthem of all time. Anyway. So I just remember winning this contest, but the reason I won it, which I don't think I give everyone credit for enough, my cousins and family sat there and voted. I mean,
literally
must have
all
been
night.
for a full 24-hour period, like did not stop hitting vote.
I remember it was like a couple of days. So they had already been doing it for like a day. I went over to the cousin's house and we did one of our annual Monopoly games where we stay up literally all night playing Monopoly. And we were all voting for you the whole time we played Monopoly.
And I just like, I honestly feel bad that I haven't given that enough credit. I feel like I haven't talked about that in any of the interviews or any, but I actually probably owe my entire singing career to my cousins and Emily, and like just, I'm talking
so good.
Hit that button until they were blue. And so whenever I got the national anthem contest award, it was to come and perform for that season closer game. And I actually just found the video of Dad telling me that I won, and it's like in front of the whole family. So like the cousins and everybody are there.
Oh my God.
And so naturally we invite like all 30 of us onto the sidelines. The Texans probably hated me. They were like, who is this high school girl? Why are we allowing everyone she's ever met in her life on the sidelines?
We were also all in the green room beforehand too.
We didn't just have a green room. We had a conference table. Like, and it was full. It was all my grandparents, all 4 grandparents, all of our cousins, aunts, uncles, I think my best friends. We had some of Dad's best friends.
Yeah.
We had
we had
so many people at this thing. And
it was a really, really cool moment though. So I'm so glad that they let you have all those people there.
Me too. That was really cool of them. Shout out to the Houston Texans for like making a little girl's dreams come true. But on top of that, none of us ever thought I was going to do it again. We thought that was it. We were like, what a cool thing.
Yeah.
Check, next, like go to college, you're done.
Yeah.
And then the Texans asked me back. And then the Astros started asking me to sing, and NASA and Houston Dynamo. And I just like, the word got around that I can sing the national anthem. And I didn't realize it, but winning that contest put me in front of an audience that was so massive that the real pivotal moment was actually singing at the game and realizing that I could be in front of 75,000 people with the jets flying over and not be nervous. I was totally fine.
Yeah.
And they even made me cut like 30 seconds off my anthem. Or it was because I tried to like slow it down and make it really pretty for that day. And then...
like, we got jets coming.
Yeah. And then I remember Dad came and sat with his stopwatch and was like, this has to be down 30 seconds. Go. And like we timed it in that little conference room back area over and over again until I got it down.
The athlete-artist crossover never ends.
It really did feel like I was like running sprints, but it was like singing anthems. But we got it down, and I remember my whole family was so nervous, and I wasn't. Like Dad was about to pass out. And he's like a very like stoic, you know, strong man. Guy. And he was just like, I can't believe you just did that, you know? And my mom talks about it all the time. She's like, I still don't know. Like every time you go up to do something like that, I just like don't breathe for the whole performance.
I don't know how you do it either. But I love hearing you say this story because what a lot of people don't realize is our stories are actually scarily similar.
That's true.
In that we both did not think we were going to make this our career until literally like our last year of high school. Mm-hmm. And I love hearing you explain how that moment was when you realized that music was what you wanted to do.
It was a realization that I could.
Yeah.
I think it was a validation had come from winning this contest that was, you know, it was anyone could enter from the whole country. Yeah. And I mean, obviously it's going to be mostly Houston people who enter it.
But you only entered because of your volleyball coach.
Coach Jurotsky. She was like, I heard about this contest. You should send a video in. And I actually found the original video that my dad recorded of me in the game room against the wall.
I want to see this.
Singing this cute little high school J national anthem.
Oh.
And we just sent it in. But yeah, no, the real crazy moment was it had given me all those things at once. I had validation from a credible source. I had proof of concept because I was able to hold it together and not be nervous.
Yeah.
And then people asked for me to do it again. So that was just further okay. And then once I started getting asked to do things again, I started to explore other singing contests in Houston because that was a contest.
Yeah.
And I started to win all these contests. I won the Woodlands Idol. I won the Rodeo Rockstar contest. And I'm like, then I started to meet people who were in the Texas country scene because all these have judges, you know? Yeah. So there's people who are deemed worthy of deciding who's the best, and they have to be somewhat involved in music. And then I had some of these folks say, you realize you could actually do this thing. Have you ever thought of Nashville? And I already was going to Vanderbilt. It was like wild how it all just like panned out.
Yeah.
But I think I would have gone to Vandy and just written books. I would have been an author if I hadn't done that national anthem.
Can you explain the story about how you went on the spring break college trip?
Oh, yes.
And fell in love with Vanderbilt?
Yeah. So Kristen, our oldest sister, she wanted to go on a college trip for spring break, which is like amazing of our parents to want to take us to do that. Yeah. Looking back on it, how fortunate are we to have parents who are like, let's go figure out where you want to go to school. And I remember our parents being very adamant about being different than, I mean, our grandparents are all incredible, but both of our parents paid their own way through through college. Dad got through it on a baseball scholarship. Mom got through it on a nursing scholarship. She didn't even want to be a nurse, but that was what she got a scholarship for. So it was like,
I didn't even know that.
Mom and Dad grinded. They were the only ones to like, Mom's the only one on her side of the family to have gone to college. And then Dad paved the way kind of, I think, for their fam. And it was just so cool how our parents were like, we want you to be able to go anywhere you want. And the way that we achieve that is you need to academics first. You need to be really good at academics, and then we're going to do everything we can to make sure you're well-rounded for that resume.
Yeah.
Which just having parents who even cared about that. We didn't know, but we were taught, and we were so lucky to have parents who made us focus on, number one, academics, because no matter where you're trying to go to school, that's going to help. But then if you just build that resume, like why do you think we were in NCL, National Charity League, or joining all these random clubs that we were in? It was all to build this well-rounded person, not just be one-dimensional, because sports were our main thing, but we did everything else in our school you could do around our schedule.
It was definitely crazy how, like, growing up, you realize how fortunate you are to have had, first of all, parents.
Yeah.
Second of all, parents that are so supportive and have such a long-term picture for you.
True.
To help you realize these things before we even know it. Like if we had been left to our own volition, we wouldn't have signed up for any of this, you know?
Yeah.
But from their
We're all
very
pretty competitive
first.
too, though. So I wonder if Kristen also set the bar for us, because our older sister is so smart and
So
athletic.
smart.
So she was in everything and like great at everything. So then when I got into school, I was like, well, I want to do what Kristen's doing, kind of like you just said about me. So I think both of us, you know, we've got mom and dad who paved the way, and then Kristen really made it. I think mom and dad will even say it. They're like, Kristen made it kind of easier for us because she was so self-motivated that y'all were competitive in like a healthy way, but her self-motivation made all of you want to also work hard. So thanks, Kristen, for like building our lives also.
Yeah, I think another pivotal moment for our family was when she got into Duke.
I found that video too. Oh my gosh. Girl, I have been crying in my condo.
I need to see these videos.
Yeah. So, okay, I've been talking about these videos. I've been finding this entire podcast, and I'm sorry for keeping you on the dark, but I have been working on, I just put a song out called Daddy Daughter Dance, and it's a song obviously for my dad. And I want this video to be all of these memories that we have of my dad just being such an incredible father figure. And very recently, I think maybe it was for Kristen's wedding or for one of our grandparents' birthdays, our parents got all of their old VHS videos transferred to, what do you call it? Just MP4s, like digital. And so I have a hard drive of like, I'm talking 100 hours of footage. Wow. And I'm still not done going through it all, because I'm trying to like scan through it and find just like whenever I see dad, but he's recording a lot of it, so he's not in a ton of it. Yeah. But he's talking in so much of it. So then I'll just let it. He's the original influencer. I'm not kidding. He will turn the camera around. We had a hurricane. We've been 12 days without power. Oh my dad is an influencer, and he doesn't even know it. But he literally is the OG influencer. 100%.
He's seeing us do this. He's like, they learned it all from me.
He's like, I keep thinking about all the athletes who have NIL, who are thinking about if NIL had existed in my day. And he's probably like, if TikTok had existed when I was a 20-year-old. But anyway, I've been going through these videos to make the Daddy Daughter Dance music video. And so that's what I keep referencing to Emily when I'm like, I found that, and I found that, and I found that. Because my parents documented all these big moments, which, again, so thankful for them.
Well, I also feel like a lot of people, I don't know, I'm obviously generalizing, but have watched home videos growing up. Yeah. And we never did, just because we've always been so busy, and they were also not transferred. You have to
be far enough away from them to want to go back and watch home videos, though.
Yeah. They were also not transferred to this MP4, so we couldn't. And so I've never seen like any pictures or videos from our childhood.
This was my first time seeing them all.
Yeah. But I do joke a lot about how the reason why I love social media so much and documenting my life so much is because I'd walk around the house. So bad. I wasn't in any of the family pictures.
That's not true.
And
she's talking about before she was born. That's literally what she's butthurt about. And you couldn't have been in the photos.
Right. But then after I was born, like life was too busy. So we didn't like, I don't know, print family photos. Anyways.
I think our parents just got away from like the portrait stuff. Like, I think when they were like young adult
they did, like,
parents,
they
were like,
shoot.
Yeah, it was like you go and hire someone, you all dress in matching blah, 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 and you do the Easter photo shoot or the Christmas photo shoot. Yeah. And I think it just wasn't a trend anymore. Yeah. And so like they didn't do that. But there are tons of photos of you. They're just not the like professional portrait style thing.
Well, now there are photos of me on the house. Because I figured out that Walgreens existed, and I went and printed family photos where I was in them and put them all over the house so people knew I existed.
Oh my God.
My parents are great. Funny. I promise. I'm not mad at y'all.
They were too busy taking you to your 6,000 sporting events to print a photo out and put it on a shelf that no one looks at. Anyways.
Continue.
You're so cute. I'm trying to remember where I was before I was like, I keep talking about these videos that I'm bringing out. I know it was about the singing contest.
The anthem.
Oh, you said the Vandy thing.
Yeah, the trip.
So Kristen.
Bring it back.
Yes, I digress. Kristen wanted to go on a college visit, and she's very smart. So all the schools we were going to were very elite, prestigious academic institutions. I wanted to be on spring break at the beach with my friends. Yeah. So I was so salty that I was going to Duke and Wake Forest and UVA and Vanderbilt. And I was so butthurt about it. And so I spend the entire trip just like, I'm sure being a pain in my parents' butt. Just, I don't want to do any of the stuff that they want to do. But I'm probably not. I'm not that bad. But I definitely was dragging my feet. And Kristen was super excited to go to all these schools. Duke was already her favorite. It had been her favorite for years for some reason. I think because it just is like Harry Potter.
It literally looks like Hogwarts.
It literally looks like Hogwarts. She was like, no, this is where I belong. So she went and saw all the other schools, but that was always her favorite. So when we went to Vanderbilt, she was kind of like, yeah, this is cool. I like the school. And it was like kind of a backup plan for her. But we get there and you get assigned to a tour guide. Don't know who they're going to be. Don't know what their major is going to be. Just whoever it is, they have been taught facts about the campus and they walk you around. We find out when she brings us out into the courtyard, she's a creative writing major. And I was like locked in. I wrote a novel in high school, a 500-page book. I won a bunch of poetry contests. Like, I was obsessed with writing. I still am. Words are my favorite thing. What?
We need to make it known that Julia wrote the first book in this family.
It's probably terrible, though. No one will ever read it. It is not published. Absolutely not. But I wrote this in high school, guys. But anyway, I loved writing. And it was a dream of mine. I was like, I will write a book one day that is going to be published. So cool. I figured out she was a creative writing major. So like these tour groups, they, you know, your parents and the kids are all looking through pamphlets and talking about what they like and don't like. And you just walk through this group of 30 people or whatever. I was with her hip and hip the entire tour. Kristen and mom and dad are somewhere in the back. Yeah. And I'm just like, tell me everything. And I just fell in love with the school, loved the campus. It's gorgeous. I don't know how you say the word. Arboretum, I think is what it is. But
Arboretum.
I don't know what the actual like spelling of it is, but I just know that it has every tree or plant native to the state of Tennessee. Yeah. Say it again.
I think it's Arboretum.
Arboretum. Okay. The Arboretum. It's Vanderbilt's campus is an Arboretum.
I did not know that.
So every single plant native to the state of Tennessee is on our campus, which is so cool.
That's
and like,
so cool.
It's beautiful. It's a very well kept, gorgeous location. So we had a great time walking around. I loved that it was in the SEC. I loved the colors, black and gold. I'm a gold girl. Has always worked with me.
Yeah,
so
they're really good. It was meant to be.
So it ended up being the only school I applied to. And we grew up where, like, again, we were very, like, nerdy in high school. I graduated number 12 in a class of, like, almost 1,000 kids. And you were number 4.
Yeah, I was 2
in a
before
class
I went
of, like,
into my coma.
Yeah, what? But it was like 1,000 kids.
Yeah, it was 1,012.
So we had, again, like academics were number 1 for us. So we had automatic acceptance anywhere in Texas, which is just an in-state rule that Texas has, I think, to support its own people. So I was like, backup plan, UT Austin. There's also a music scene in Austin. Cool.
Yeah.
So only school I applied to was Vandy. And oh my gosh, I have another pivotal moment in high school. Remember when I almost didn't get into
I was
college?
like, I don't know if she's going to talk about this. I'm not going to ask about it.
Well, it's like, I know we don't have any more time, but I can like quickly tell this story, I guess.
It's so worth telling.
It's so
you have
worth
to do
telling.
it.
Guys, I got kicked out of high school. I was such a good kid. I don't know how I ended up being the only one of us to like be a really good kid and like be buddies with all the principals, but still simultaneously, I had detention. I had ISS, in-school suspension. I got kicked out of school.
It's middle
like
child.
Truly, I went to the annex, which is like the institution for kids who are like too young to go to prison, basically.
It's like down the street. You wear like a white button-down polo.
I had to wear a polo and
khaki pants. You get
go
driven
through a
the
metal
bus.
detector.
The bus takes you to school, right?
No. Okay. I got dropped off because like there's so few kids. Like, there's not like a bus would have to go all over the place to get you there. Yeah. But we weren't allowed to have a backpack. You were allowed like one manila folder. That's where I finished writing my book.
Oh
I finished writing my book in the annex.
So explain why you went there. Because it's innocent.
I was a, work hard, play hard girl. Still am. And in high school.
She's just a girl.
I'm just a girl. We had a school trip, a choir trip. The one year I did choir. The only 1 year I did choir.
Didn't you do it so you could do the school trip?
I did it so I could do the school trip, but also you had to have a fine arts credit. So I had to take a fine arts
But
before
you
I
saved
graduated.
it so you could do the junior.
I heard they were going to New
school
York
trip.
junior year. So I was like, I'm going to do it then.
So smart.
So we get to New York, having the best time, and one of the kids had snuck alcohol into his bag. He like literally brought like a water bottle of vodka. Like it's the most high school story of all time.
Yeah.
And the last night of the trip was a riverboat cruise thing where you have dinner and there's music and dancing and whatever. And you go by the Statue of Liberty. So he's passing this bottle around the table, and there's a group of 5 of us that are just like drinking it. Like, I'm not drunk. This is a single water bottle of vodka that was passed around him. He got wasted.
Okay.
Absolutely wasted.
That's tough.
Then got in a fight with somebody else, not like a physical fight, but an emotional fight. And this girl like ratted on him, told on him.
Yeah.
So then it was who all was doing it.
Yeah.
And then we all got in trouble. And there's a 0 tolerance policy at our school. If you even touch alcohol, you're kicked out. There's no
How long was it that you were at the annex?
It was 6 weeks.
Wow.
6 school weeks, which...
Well, I remember Mom having to fight for you to be able to stay in your AP classes.
Yeah. I was the only student
annex.
ever in the history of the annex to be in AP classes. So they had to get like a separate teacher for
Breaking
me.
barriers.
Breaking barriers. Degenerates deserve knowledge too. But I had a different teacher who had to like come in and teach me my subjects. And then I had to be, this is what you're thinking about when you said the bus. I had to be golf carted back to my other school to take the AP exams. And I remember at one of the AP exams, they were announcing these poetry contest winners for this statewide poetry contest. I had freshly been walked in by like police, and they're like, and the contest winner is Julia Cole. So I'm like in my khaki pants and white polo walking into the middle of the Klein High School. It really did feel like a movie. And we can laugh at it now because I got into Vanderbilt, but in hindsight, really like it was so terrifying because when you fill out a college application, there's a box you check that says, have you ever had any disciplinary action taken against you? And if you haven't checked it, you wouldn't know that when you hit yes, this whole separate part of the application opens up and you have to write an essay about what happened.
Yeah.
And I remember just being like, the whole family was like, you just threw your life away. And I could have. My life could be so different. I might not have gotten in. And I wrote an essay about how much I learned from it and how I will try not to let, peer pressure make me do things that I don't think are I actually want to find the essay and like read it. Because whatever I said was enough for Vanderbilt to be like, she can still come here despite being literally kicked out of school.
Yeah.
And I honestly, I didn't get to run track that year. It was track season.
It
like really affected a lot in my life. Wow. Yeah. And that was like one of my best years of running and times and stuff.
Yeah.
Track season had just started and I was doing great. And then I wasn't allowed to run, obviously. And then if I had been assigned like my kick out dates 2 days later, it would have extended through the summer and I wouldn't have been able to try out for volleyball and I wouldn't have been able to play my senior year of volleyball. So I was 2 days away from just absolute devastation.
Wow.
So
anyway, I'm glad for that timing.
Yeah, like God had my back on that one because he was like, you probably need to learn a lesson, but we're not going to ruin your whole life.
Yeah.
But it could have. So that was
definitely another
none of these
moment.
were the pivotal moments that I was going to talk about today. Like none, because there have been so many.
But in the next episode, we're going to talk about like building our team, and you can talk about your people in that one.
Yeah.
But for our book section, I can go really quickly.
It's time for book club and Q&A.
Yeah, and I will just have my book for the week be my book.
The Player's Plate.
The Player's Plate, which is
so
exciting.
Good. It's so good.
I am very excited too about now that I've graduated and I did my fun little post-grad Europe trip.
Which we will also talk about on the next episode.
We definitely will. I have a lot more time now to promote my book and be more intentional and thoughtful about how I promote it and get it out. So I'm really excited to share that resource more with mainly high school age athletes, but also college and anyone, even if you're not an athlete, because I think the lessons in there are applicable to people in all phases of life. But yeah, that's my book for the week.
I love that. And hot take, I feel like you're not even promoting the book, because I don't even think about my music as ever being promoted.
Yeah.
It's more of, if people don't know about it, it can't help them.
Yeah.
And so you're just like helping spread the awareness of what value your book holds for people in their own nutrition and life.
Like, if they want this resource, it exists.
If this is something that can help you through your, because I think about that with my songs. Like, I'm not trying to shove a song about a breakup down someone who's happily married's throat, but someone who just went through a breakup, this song might really help them through this depression or dark time they're going through.
That's such a great way to put it.
And so it's just my hot take on that for a second, because I've obviously thought about it a lot with my career being, we'll talk about this on another episode too, but it's difficult when you are so closely tied with the product, because I would much prefer to not be. But again, book club time.
I think it's also like the now trend of brands having it, instead of marketing their products, they're now sharing their founder story and having their founders be the face of their social medias, because people like when products and companies are humanized with the trend toward things being more tech and AI right now. So I love that. Just more sharing your story as an artist and your journey as an artist. And if they find that the songs help.
The songs are my voice and my writing and my story, and the music videos my face, and I'm like, the album art's my face. I don't love that. I don't like that at all, actually. But if it's the only way that this song is going to reach the person it needs to reach is by having my social media do well or whatever that is, I'm like willing to do it for the end game.
Yeah.
But this has nothing to do with my book, which is so, no one probably would expect this, but it's actually funny because we talked about it already in this episode. Harry Potter.
Oh my gosh, it is perfect.
I'm starting, so we'll talk about our European excursions on the next episode, but I had probably 40 hours of travel over the last 2 weeks.
You're superhuman.
So I got through the entire first 2 books of Harry Potter. The first one was Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, and the second one is Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. And
so good.
I don't know if I can have 2 for this week, or maybe I'll split them up. I'll do the other one for next week.
Just do the first one, the first Harry Potter book, because you've never read Harry Potter before.
Yeah.
It was Kristen's thing.
I had read the Sorcerer's Stone before.
Oh.
But it was the only one.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Because Kristen had gotten so into Harry Potter after that, I was like, and I can't remember what the timing was, if Twilight came out at the same time or shortly after, but I just remember being like, okay, well, if her thing's going to be Harry Potter, my thing's going to be something else, because we're dumb kids. So I read the first one, and then I just kind of tapped out. So this was my first time in a long time reading the first book, but it was so fun to go back.
And the audiobook version now.
Yeah, the audiobook version was good. There were certain parts of it that I'm like, I kind of wish I was reading the hard copy at some times, but honestly, when I'm traveling, I don't want to carry the weight.
Yeah.
And like,
audiobook is so nice for
books
travel.
are so heavy, and I want to bring so many different things to read. So I did have a paperback of something else with me, but I didn't want like 3 books with me. Because I'm already always over my weight limit when I'm trying to check a bag. Like, by far not my strong suit. So Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, book of the week. Come back to your childhood with me, and we should all like binge Harry Potter together, because I'm not going to stop till I'm done with all of them.
When you finish reading, we can watch the whole series together. Oh my God. Yes. Okay, Q&A.
So for the Q&A for this week, we're going to do one question, because we both have to answer it. And it's such a good question, but it also makes me sad. It says, "Hey ladies, loving the show. I found both of you through TikTok. Julia, I found you through Chip Eston. Love that man. Emily, I found you when you were writing your book. I didn't realize you wrote The Player's Plate until recently. My question for you both is, do you all think you would be as close if there weren't 3 girls in your family? My sister and I are not near as close or sweet to one another like you all are to each other. I wish my sister and I could have gotten our act together long ago to be as close as you two are. Thank you, Courtney B."
Oh, it's kind of sad.
It's so sad. And I don't know if it's the number of people in your family, or exactly why, but I'm interested what your answer is first.
I've never thought about it that way. I don't feel like it would change if it was just us versus having Kristen. I think sometimes 3 actually makes it like more difficult too, because not that I feel like this really happens with us, but I mean, just growing up, when you have a friend group of 3, sometimes like 2 paired off and 1, whatever. Mm-hmm. But I think it's more so just the way that our family kind of is. I don't know.
The only thing I can kind of think that maybe isn't our doing and it's just like how things turned out was we all kind of got pretty spaced out geographically.
Yep. And we all do different things.
I wonder if like the absence makes the heart grow fonder thing is really it, because you didn't get to, like, if you don't get to see each other as often, then when you do, you're just so excited about it.
Yeah.
And I think it helped us maybe build that foundation to the point where now, even if we did all live together, you're just so thankful to be in the same place, because we've experienced a decade of living apart.
Yeah.
All 3 of us, you know? Mm-hmm. And that's a long time to not live with your siblings. And like, we try to think back on when we were like kids and all living together, but it seems like an eternity ago.
Yeah.
So
I definitely think that I've also had a lot of friends kind of share the same thing, where when you lived in the same household, you fought all the time, whatever. And then you grow up and you move out, and then you realize how lucky you were to get to be living together. And you're like, dang, I wish we still lived together. And so you really appreciate the time together more.
We need to find that thing that Kristen sent us from her boss. Remember, she got that email that had the concept of time, and it was like,
oh yeah, how much time you spend with your family, how much time you spend with your parents.
It was specifically with your parents, but the same thing applies with your siblings
as you get older. It's like we've done like 80% of the time we've spent with our parents. It's already done.
Happened. And I think we spend more time with our parents than the average adult, because we all try so hard to go to each other's events.
Yeah.
Like, we prioritize, you and I aren't married. We don't have kids. So right now, our immediate childhood family is still our immediate family. A lot of people, like, they start having their own family that you have to prioritize. And that is the right thing to do. But just in our family, only one of us, and it was only a month ago, has even had a child yet. So Kristen is the first one where now we're going to have to be able to stomach it. When she can't come to something, it's like, it's going to hurt.
Yeah. She didn't come to my college graduation.
Yeah.
She was pregnant.
She was about to pop. She literally couldn't.
Yeah.
But that was like not even a choice. She like couldn't fly. But
I was still really sad about it.
Yeah, it's just so tough. It's so tough.
But thank you for sharing that, Courtney. Like, I know that's like, we appreciate you.
It's never too late.
Saying that,
Also, I'm a huge believer in you can make up for lost time, and
everything happens for a reason too. So
if you're having that desire to like get closer with her, maybe try, like, maybe hit her up and be like, maybe we do a girls trip for a weekend. If it goes terribly, whatever, it was 2 days of your life. If it's amazing, you have a built-in new, like,
it's
best
just
friend.
Crazy, because obviously no one knows you and knows your roots in the way that your siblings do. It's just impossible.
They experienced the same parenting that you did, the same school system. I mean, maybe. I'm assuming the same. Most of those things would be for us. It's like, nobody knows me the way that y'all do, because you had even the same coaches, the same teachers. Like, it was crazy how many things were the same in our lives. Yeah. So, yes, thank you for your question, Courtney. And thank you, everyone, for listening to Hustle and Harmony.
We'll see you next week.
See you next week. Thank y'all so much for listening to this episode of Hustle and Harmony.
Please leave us a 5-star review or comment, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and follow us on socials at Julia Cole Music and at Emily Cole.
We'll love you forever either way, and we can't wait to see y'all next week.
See y'all then.